We are back from the break, ladies and gents. It is your host, a Comcast employee. This time with me, I have Jake in the slow zone. So
Yo,
we got an interesting matchup going on. We got Opwash on Mr. C4 and Nuwa on Baconator.
yeah,
We're gonna reverse some roles here. So this is a pretty interesting matchup generally because we have these two incredibly potent pantheons, both of them having quite a bit of removal. But historically, we've seen more of a lean almost towards Mayan, but then it also leans right back forth. It's a very unstable, I guess I would say, matchup. What do you make of this matchup?
yeah. I mean, I
Jake?
saw some interesting comments earlier on the stream, just saying that why don't people play New War more? And I mean, I think we've seen a couple of interesting games, based around New War so far, and I'm hoping this is going to be another one. I mean, I would probably go with Putch just because I feel more comfortable with that. But I mean, let's see what happens.
So the Kabrakan was dropped on Mr. C4's side, and if there's one thing we've learned from this tournament is do not underestimate Kabrakan. Now
We've seen it played a lot.
A bit of there we go. A very clean play on Baconator's side. These are two very good players. The misplays are not going to be happening, and this is where I always talk about how this game is so much more skill than a lot of the other card games, because even though it does revolve around like what you're drawing, at this point, at this level of play, they're not making silly misplays. They're not relying on a lot of top decks. It's usually going to come down to whoever uses the resources more. But when we're talking about Chinese, it's kind of a gamble almost, because there's a lot to play with. There's a lot to go on, because we already see so much happening here. Like the Zhongqi coming out and the Decay instantly taking it out. That is what I want to see.
I mean, we're also going to
Zhongqi
see
is
that.
really important.
We're going to see that demon bag also ticking over throughout this game as well, and that's something that C4 is going to have to be aware of.
And I mean, it's good that he only got like what, 1 damage, I believe, 1 damage from the demon bag, which is really fantastic. But I'll say right now, this game is just flying by. Double Decay out for Mr. C4. His only way of getting it back is via Barter Soul, which we're not exactly sure if he runs, because Barter Soul's a pretty interesting card. Do you have any insight on that card, Jake?
Yeah, no, I mean, I run 2 Barter Soul in my Putch deck, and I think it's sort of a card that should probably be in every Putch deck. I mean, I think it's up there with the likes of Raise the Grave. I mean, it's it can really help swing a game. And again, as we've just seen, Blood Bond come out, and that's another one.
I definitely agree with you on that, but I think it's a quality card, but it can definitely have its pretty potent downsides. The Blood Bond's gonna be the perfect play for Mr. here. I think he looks at the Kabrakan here. That's what I would do. Look at the Kabrakan and then spawn a zombie. It's exactly what's actually gonna happen.
Yeah. I mean, we're just seeing as soon as these zombies are being dealt with, they're just coming straight back out.
And that is one of that if you can have that aspect of the Mayan Pantheon on lockdown, really on either side, right? It's going to swing the game massively. In this case, we're going to see the Sun Wukong come out, and I love seeing this interesting play, because it just goes to show how terrified Baconator and really players should be of Razor Graves. It's just an incredible burst card. I mean, granted, his summoning would pretty much be Deadzo if he did happen to have Razor Graves, which we know he does. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure Mr. C4 was looking forward to that possible Razor Graves there.
We saw that in the last game as well. I mean, sort of 2 Razor Graves, very game, and it just completely steamrolled the rest of the game.
So if you're Mr., what's the play here? Because the way I see it is you gotta play Cuckoo in the back, move up Kabrakan, and then maybe potentially Chaos spawn Sun Wukong and spawn a zombie. What do you make of the situation?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably a good start. I mean, I don't know what he's looking to do with this zombie. I would probably move it up 1, and as you said, sort of move the Kabrakan up, and Chaos spawn. Yeah, I would probably run the Chaos spawn there as well.
Just because you want to have a bunch of Kukulkan
fodder, and
that's such a strong play. Now, he can still go for the Chaos Spawn and the Zombie, but I mean, obviously, to the exact specifics, we don't know what. So there's going to be the Zombie. Obviously, Mr. C4 is... Kukulkan's a very dangerous card, right? Because when it comes down to is it can either help you a lot or it actually harm you a lot. And
Yeah.
And we're gonna see a you know, like, no Chaos Spawn coming out, so obviously he doesn't put too much bank on Kukulkan. And a beautiful projection that killed the legendary Serpent of the Nine Winds.
And that's dealt with.
That's how you deal with it with a flying lizard monster. On that's how you deal with it.
I mean, this goes back to what you said earlier. I mean, the level of play that we're seeing now is just absolutely spot on.
I couldn't agree more, honestly, you know, because when you get players that, like, even big names like, especially like from esports, you know, Flashpoint, Baconator, and Fable, Mr. C4, like, these guys know what they're doing, and they're showing it, you know, like, very defensive play coming up from Baconator, and to a lot of players, even including myself, I may have taken that gamble, and I probably almost could have lost the game based off the Raise the Graves there, so...
I mean, on the other hand,
there's a certain level of tentative play, you know.
We've got Hollow that's been coming up, you know, and I mean, he's pretty new as far as I'm aware, and he has had some fantastic games this evening.
Yeah, that'll be a very fun match to see and watch. We're gonna see this. We're gonna see the Sun Wukong be finally dealt with via Fire Giant. However, we also know that like Baconator has he has no answers besides a Chaos Spawn, which is a pretty... Chaos Spawning a Fire Giant is one of those guilty pleasures, right? Like, you want to do it because then you lose the cleave, but you feel guilty about it because you're like, yo, wait a minute, he still has 5 damage on that sword of his, you know? It's a difficult Chaos Spawn to justify sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to agree with you there, but I mean, we saw a silence from the Chaos Spawn on a Fire Giant earlier that really helped push an aggressive counter, and I mean, it just worked absolutely brilliantly.
That on that same note, you know, Baconator does have some answers. He's going to... Yeah, okay, there we go. There's the confirmation. He's going to ram the Blade Master in and actually clean up the Fire Giant here.
Wow.
This is looking like a pretty stable match so far for Baconator. However, we do have to remember the ultimate swing card of the night, Blight.
Yeah, I mean, Blight comboed with Raise the Grave. I mean, you're looking at, you know, what a fantastic combo.
The only way Chinese can adequately deal with all those 4 forwards is Guan Yu, but as we've seen right here, you know, Baconator does not he doesn't have a Guan Yu in his hand right now, but more on that note though, he only has one other spell, so it'd be I think it'd actually be near impossible to clear all the zombies. Obviously, if he draws some more spells or something of that sort, he'll be able to, but the second Fire Giant, or correction, the counter Fire Giant, right, gonna come out on Mr. C4's part. Pretty clean. I think it's a very fine play. However, it is worth noting that the Fire Giant will be quick. I mean, the Blade Master will be quickly taken down via Chaos Spawn and a Crescent Blade. With that being in mind, it is also worth mentioning, remember, Baconator does have have a Chang'e on the field. Chang'e is a very strong, but almost a subtly strong card, in the sense that her effect is so powerful that a lot of players don't validate killing her. Would you in this situation, would you validate trying to get rid of the Chang'e?
To be honest, I've fallen trapped to that myself. I've ignored it, and then it's come back to bite me in the ass later.
Definitely. Chang'e being a fair, like, she's a very almost underwhelming, like she appears underwhelming, but she's not as dangerous. And the Bard of Soul, scratch what I was gonna say, getting back the Kukulkan and the Blood Bond. If I am a Bard of Soul, that's what I want to get. I want to take those guys out of the graveyard, because that was a absolutely fantastic play. Now, Mr. C4 may have made a slight positioning error. If he had run Blade Master down the middle, he would have been able to get actually farther into the enemy summoning stone. However, it may not actually matter. It will not matter. However, it's also worth mentioning that's all of his spells gone. Dunzo. So in
Yeah.
this case, you know, it is going to come down to dangerous situations. We're going to see the silence, and I think into the potential blood bond. I would play the blood bond here, but no,
No.
no, okay. Instead, we're gonna almost reincarnate that Kukulkan, bringing him back to serve more havoc.
I mean, he's got a lot of nice cards here. You know, and he's got a lot of options. You know, whereas sort of Baconator is being almost forced into a card by card play soon.
Soon, and I would primarily say because of that, because his hand is pretty small right now, you know, he doesn't have a whole lot of options. The Dragon King will definitely be viable, but that's only gonna take out the Kukulkan, and as long as Mr. C4 understands that and understands that it's probably gonna happen, he'll probably be able to play around it, you know, and he'll be able to get the job done.
Yeah.
So, drawing a Suitor here, I love Suitor. I think Suitor is a very strong card, especially in this Pantheon. It's very underrated, especially when you consider, hey, wait a minute, Mr. C4 can combo the double Suitor to actually kill the Ao Kuang and regain a massive board status. Now, I think he sees it. Let's hope he does, because it's a very strong play in and of itself.
There's definitely got potential for a big payoff. You know, I mean, I can't expect that anything is getting past C4 at this point. To be honest, you know, I think he's going to be well aware of all of his options, and he is going to be picking whatever is best for this play.
I think that, I mean, according to this, it does not look like he actually sees it. The double Suitor easily being able to take up the fight, and he doesn't. Kind of a see, as you said, if he's setting up for Blight, that's one thing, but he may have just made actually a pretty significant misplay, and then if the only way to remedy that is, I guess, a Blight. That is how much Mr. C4 is going to see. He may be trying to go for the Race of the Graves here. No. Instead, he goes for a bit of a different play. Now, I can respect this one.
I mean, he's got a +2 on these zombies now. You know, I mean, but
he does. Yeah, he
next
does.
turn. You know, I mean, I don't. Looking through.
But if I'm Mr. C4, I gotta be asking myself right now, was that the best Blight? Because as we see these huge board-changing cards, such as Annihilation or even just like Blight, and they're so impactful, so you have to ask yourself, did I use that to the best of my ability? And I'm pretty sure Mr. C4 is probably shaking his head right now saying, oh, that wasn't the best one I could have done. Especially because he leaves Chang'e on the board, and her effect still holds strong.
I'd agree with you there. You know, and as we just saw, I mean, that was just countered, and those two zombies that were produced from that card were just taken out.
A potential misplay coming out of a Baconator there, because now it's a very obvious Smork. I would almost expect to see a little emote come out of Baconator, because that was because you want to protect Chang'e.
Yeah.
And instead, we're gonna get a sick blood bond off. So, if you are Mister, I was about to say, if you were Mister that turn, would you have raised the Graves?
I probably would have. I mean, I've fallen into the trap of leaving Raise the Grave too long, and then, you know, not having, or not being able to be, you know, being too pressured that I don't actually want to play it. And I think if he's not careful, this could happen.
Despite
especially using that Blight.
Yeah, I would agree. Despite the Zhong Kui coming out, we do see that he's nothing to kill. But primarily, I'd be more worried about he has nothing to he has really nothing to deal with the units. I mean, besides now Pabwa, right? Because now he's a Dragon King and Demon Bag. Demon Bag you're trying to stockpile, and Dragon King is your most it's your most utility spell that you have to use. Like. It's just your hardcore damage, whether you're trying to finish off the game or you're trying to finish off a nasty, like even Blade Master type. So the Empowered Dead here is an interesting card. Now, personally, I don't like this card a whole lot, actually.
I'd agree with you.
I think it's very situational, to be honest. So I guess do you feel the same? Do you feel the same way, or?
I do. I mean, I think that if you're going for a Raise the Grave, you know, the Empowered Dead is sort of a bit useless. You know, I think there's other cards that you could pick and drop that out for that would be much more beneficial.
So we're gonna see a nice fancy board on Mr. C4's side, and nothing coming out of Baconator's side. Now, I want to point out to it a pretty interesting little unit we have here, or actually spell here, Blade Forge. We don't. This is this card was added fairly recently, and Blade Forge has seen a lot of interesting play because it's I like to think of it as a huge hit or miss. It either works massively or it doesn't work at all. And right here, we're going to see it's actually completely worthless, Like, he's not going to get anything off it. He's going, but despite everything, though, he will nearly clear board. However, he only has one card in his hand, and that being Blade Forge. And here's what I was talking about, the Empower Dead actually being fairly strong. I think Mr. C4 may have brought this card specifically for the, for the Chinese matchup, because now Chinese can't take it out. These 2/2s are volatile, they're dangerous. Especially when you have a hungry Camazotz looming on the horizon. And I will say, probably actually a bit of a misplay there. Remember, it is also worth mentioning that, at least hopefully my memory aids me correctly, you can use your ability, activate the Empower Dead, and then you can actually spawn another zombie. Now, obviously, I'm not entirely sure of this, but I'm 90% sure, I'd say. So, regardless, though, that one extra damage probably won't come to see any fruition, even if it was possible. On that note, though, the War Behemoth is definitely going to be a play that Baconator is going to want to do. It's a card draw maneuver, which is what you want, especially for the fact that it trades fairly well with everything that Mr. C4 is going to be in his deck. It's interesting now. That was a very defensive. Very defensive War Behemoth. We don't see that very often. War Behemoth is a fairly aggressive card. Having a tanky stat line allows him to be aggressive, to tank some attacks here. But I guess Baconator is saying, you know what, my health does not matter as much as my select card draw, because that's what you get when you play War Behemoth carefully. You don't have to decide, or Christian, you get to decide when you draw your cards.
How do you feel about the Blade Forge? What do you think of that? Do you think it's too, a bit too powerful at the moment?
Is very situational, and in this case, we're seeing how it cannot be very helpful at all. We are, I swear, Mr. C4 getting some very nice, very helpful RNG this game, especially considering that he got back Kukulkan and now also Razor Graves, Elder Harpies being added bonus. I feel kind of bad for Baconator. Just not a single Guan Yu coming out from his deck. He has 3 cards left in his deck. Think about this. One of those 3 is Guan Yu. I've never seen a deck not run Guan Yu, so we know it's sitting there. And oh my gosh, does the Guan Yu's just not coming, man. The Guan Yu refuses to be present at all. And this is what Baconator needs right now. He needs to get this card. He needs it. That is his only play. However, he will be able to semi-clear board, but we already know the future of this game.
Yeah, I mean, this one's...
Via the Camazotz, it will be all over momentarily.
That's it, yeah.
Coming out the only way? Or he can just...
And he went for the other Raise the Grave.
Honestly, there was so many beautiful combinations there. It was pretty dirty. So... we're actually going to see Fable, Mr. C4, taking game 1 off of Baconator. And it's always cool to see these, I guess, technically pro players just, come out and play expertly. Like, both these players played really well. Not pretty much no mistakes on their parts. And it honestly came out of counterplay options. And I do think mine actually probably wins that matchup, I'd say, more than it loses, just because of how flexible the Pantheon is.
Yeah, I mean, I think he played the start very well as well. I mean, as we said, sort of every time putting them back out there and keeping the pressure on. And I think, that helped push him in front quite a bit in the early game.
However, I would definitely contribute Baconator's loss due to the Guan Yu just being absent. And that's where the card's very strong, but is, in a way, very needed. Well, stay tuned. We'll be giving you game 2 in just a minute here. Remember, Fable, Fable, Mr. C4, up 1 from a Flashpoint base. Stay tuned, boys. Welcome back, ladies and gents. Game 2 of Mr. C4, Fable Mr. C4 versus Flashpoint Baconator. A very intense Bologna on this, Bologna Mr. C4 and Chinese / Nuwa on Baconator. I like this matchup a lot. It feels very back and forth, despite some other almost matchups we see, because Roman has the ability to really utilize movement, whereas Chinese has the ability to really utilize her spells.
Yeah, I mean it's. I'm surprised I haven't seen seen more games involving Bologna actually. For that reason.
Yeah, for some reason I haven't seen personally a ton of Bologna this tourney, so I think it's interesting because maybe people are valuing or maybe they're valuing Chinese and Norse higher than Bologna, but I still think she's the tried and true mistress of war. Solid chaos spawn here. I do believe the Cupid could probably be a better play. I will say Mr. C4's hand. Mr. C4's hand is quality. He's got the Sylvanas, he's got the Terra, he's even got the Cupid. I always say this, and y'all can say whatever you want. He's got options. Baconator is kind of up almost against a wall here, because despite him having a good board, besides him wasting, I say wasting very seriously, his viable resources such as a Sun Wukong or a Habois, right? He doesn't have any real units, because Zhong Kui are staying in the back. You're very rarely attacking with Zhong Kui.
Yeah, this is what I love about Bologna, especially with these units that aren't mobile like the cannon. The ability to actually move them around the board adds a different dynamic to the game.
And that's like something that I think definitely separates Hand of the Gods apart from a lot of the other games, because the 3D element is so important, especially when you get a Pantheon that utilizes it so heavy. Right now, Mr. C4 is probably, or I question, Baconator is probably trying to see the calcs of what he can do to try to hit the Venus and the Harpy, because he definitely wants access to those, because the Ho Yi killing remember, Ho Yi can hit Summoning Stone and also bounce off and ricochet and hit a unit. If he hits that Harpy, that Demon Bag's gonna get big. So remember, Demon Bag's already at 1 damage. All it takes is a couple turns of Mr. C4 being unable to do anything, and before you know it, that demon bag is gonna become a very, very dangerous threat.
Yeah, I agree.
So here, obviously, Baconator trying to be careful. Mr. C4 top decking the Chaos Spawn. Unfortunately, Chaos Spawn's not going to be of any real use. Do we see the Terra here, or do we see the like what's the ideal play here?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there's an optimal up to pull the Terror right here at the moment. You know, I think it might be better waiting on that. As to what I would play, I'm not sure. Maybe the Cupid, but I don't think that's a good play either.
The Cupid, if he stuns Hou-Yi like he just did, I think it's a possible play. He's actually gonna clean up the Hou-Yi,
I mean, yes,
and establish a very nice board. Because remember,
I eat my words.
With Bellona's ability, she can effectively make a range unit from one side of the map hit the other side of the map, and that is exactly what Baconator's got to try to play around here. And at this level, you know Baconator's not gonna leave that Zhongqi to die. He knows exactly what he's doing. That being said, I have no idea why he chose Sun Wukong here, and picking Eagle is a very kind of weird choice here. Like, I don't really know what he's going for. Maybe he's gonna try to kill the Harpy and take some units down with him. But for the most part, generally, we don't see Sun Wukong out this early. Because if you're gonna Eagle form, you want a board to usually do it on. And the other option is generally Tiger form or Ox form based on the board state. But an empty board state on Baconator's side, we don't see Sun Wukong come out very often on this type of board.
And there we see he's played straight into the Terror.
Yes, and I mean it's a pretty brutal situation to be in because Terra is this enormous entity on the field, and what I'm calling right now, Mister is gonna try to use this Terra to bait his opponent or bait Baconator out into wasting a lot of his resources, and then before you know it, bang, he's gonna play that Sylvanas, and you can't do anything about it.
Fine day for a battle. I am a bit hungry.
On a side note, Ao Kuang coming out a very, very strong 7-drop into a 2 spell. That's exactly the type of power that you want, man. If he trades with Venus, oh, never mind. Wow, he's just gonna actually clean up immensely here. Gonna be able to not kill the Sun Wukong, but definitely cause a huge dent in the battlefield.
Yeah.
I cannot be defeated.
The Blink here is gonna he is gonna actually trade out the Sun Wukong and the Terra. I'm assuming he's terrified if the Sun Wukong can get enough value out. The Fire Giant gonna be a very pinnacle play here. Gonna be able to actually reestablish board control in Baconator's favor.
And as we just saw there, I mean, this is the great thing about being able to move the units into your unit's range to then trade with them is what makes it great.
The Terra here is going to be a very, very nice, clean play, stunning both the Fire Giant and the Fire Imp, trying to minimize all possible damage. And it also is worth mentioning, Baconator can't play a unit in that most aggressive middle lane spot because, the Fire Giant is sitting there in a daze and confusion. However, it's not going to matter when your Terra's dead. You don't care about your dazed and confused Fire Giant when you can just smack your opponent 75 damage. The Enlist, I want to talk about this card for a second. Enlist we haven't seen in the meta. However, Enlist got a kind of a secret major upgrade ever since like Venator got that huge change, and Hyros decided actually to leave Enlist the same. So effectively, you do for 5 mana, you do 3 damage, and you spawn a 5/3, which is incredibly strong in many situations.
I mean, do you think that's gonna cause this card to see some more play now?
Well, just like as you see here, I definitely can agree that it'll definitely see some play. However, like via my own play test and almost like this tourney thus far, I don't think it's worked as well as people have wanted it to. Unless it's a very almost it's a niche card, right? Because 3 damage generally is not, like, it can kill a lot of the lower drops, but when you get to the higher drops, that's a lot of investment for less than 4 damage. You know, whereas if you bludgeon, you can literally wipe an entire board, or you dishonorable, you literally can wipe an entire board while not touching like direct damage. You know. The Fire Giant probably going to be the best play here for Mr. C4. He could try to go for the Sylvanas again. It's honestly up to the situation. I mean, it's actually a pretty rough situation. I was about to say it's up to the situation, but it's kind of rough on Mr. C4's part because, you know, like the board is very hard to contest at this point because he's so many big units. And like I predicted, the Fire Giant is definitely going to be the man of the hour. Unfortunately, he's not actually going to be able to kill the opponent Fire Giant. So, do you think he'll trade the Fire Imps into the Fire Giant, or will he try to get... Oh, never mind. I did not see the chain.
Oh, wow.
Yes, the chain going to be extremely useful, taking out the enemy Fire Giant and clearing off his Summoning Stone.
And that's a play right there that, you know, I mean, that's the kind of thing that you want to see at this.
Yes, by all regards, you know. I've always mentioned this, and this is so incredibly true. The Bellona Fire Giant is the strongest Fire Giant because you can blink it wherever you need to go. It's like, oh crap, I wonder where my Fire Giant's supposed to be. Blam! It's already there. So, unfortunately, the Dragon King is actually going to deal with the Fire Giant perfectly. And again, like, this is a difficult board to deal with because obviously I do want to point out Chonga's incredible utility there. You have to remember, she reduced the cost of the Dragon King. So Baconator could play Ao Kuang into Dragon King, which is literally what it just one shot a Fire Giant. That is nothing to scoff at. The Chaos Spawn dropping here, getting rid of the Ao Kuang passive, definitely worth it, I would say, especially when you're lacking elimination. And just as we saw here, like I believe I made a comment earlier in the tournament about how Mr. C4's Inferno Cannon is kind of interesting. I will say, well, actually, if I'm correct, I believe Simply said he liked it. What do you think about the Inferno Cannon?
I think it's one of those that's very situated. You know, I mean, I think there's definitely situations where I think it can help, and there's other situations where you just don't find a use for it. You know, I mean, I think when you're playing Bellona, you've got, you know, obviously because you've got your passive of moving it around the board, you can do something a bit different with it, but it's not generally a card I'd go for.
I believe his only out would be some Bludgeon Rain of Arrows, but obviously he has none of that combo. He may play the Sylvanas here, but it's not going to get him a whole lot. I think so he's going to silence silencing the War Behemoth is kind of a weird play, but obviously he's trying to do his best he can to survive. However, little as you know, Baconator's got Guan Yu in hand and Chang'e. It's not going to matter. I think the game is nearly over because that's 4, 6, 7 damage innately to the Summoning Stone. Demon Bag is worth 3 damage, right? So that's 7. And that's just... Wait, does he have lethal? He may actually have lethal here because I did not account for the Chaos Spawn.
Yeah, we do.
Yes. Actually, no, he's going to be... No, yeah, it's exactly lethal. Baconator taking back the situation, going to bring the score to 1-1. That is what I call a very hotly contested game. You know, it wafted back and forth, but I honestly, like, I can't really pinpoint a time in the game where it directly, hands down favored Baconator, right? It was a very like, I'd almost call it wafting game.
I'd agree with you, you know, and it was nice to see Nuwa being played like this late in the tournament as well, being used as effectively as it was.
Yeah, Chinese is a very it's a very potent pantheon right now, and that is why I think all players have nearly come with a Chinese deck equipped, but Baconator, Flashpoint Baconator taking back the a win here. So again, it's Fable, Mr. C4 up 1, and 2 Flashpoint Baconator's score of 1. So it's a tie game, folks. This is going to be a good one. Stick around for the next game. Welcome back, everybody. That is game 3, Fable, Mr. C4 versus Flashpoint Baconator. Baconator on the Odin, C4 on the Bologna. This is actually a pretty interesting matchup because Bologna, historically, like I said in the past, has a pretty good time dealing with Baconator. And I want to quickly, like, before anything starts, this Venus positioning is weird. What do you think about it?
I mean, I probably wouldn't have positioned it there. I think I would have positioned it down a bit more, just so that it's a bit more out of range, you know. I mean, but we've got a soul out, and it looks like it's going to be playing quite aggressive here. I mean, I don't know what he's going to follow this move up with, putting the Venus up there, but I mean, I guess we'll have to see. I mean, we've already had a Cupid out as well, and the Cursed Warriors rushing. I don't know, too early to tell. We've got the Runestone out as well, which a lot more charge. he's going to be able to push a lot more aggressively. And obviously that Venus wasn't positioned very well because it's already gone.
Upon actually, I may have made a smite little mistake here. I just realized that it would have mattered because Soul would have hit her anyway. So I think Venus was the play, but it wasn't an ideal play. Maybe holding off there would have been the better of the situations. However, it honestly doesn't matter because if this Runestone stays up, this game's gonna be over very fast. Like early in the tournament, we saw Runestone be like MVP, literally like swinging games entirely because it effectively is applying a 2-mana spell on every unit you play, which is absolutely insane.
I mean, Mr. C4's taken quite a battering here on the Summoning Stone. I mean, he's pushing the Ymir back there. He's got 2 terrors. He's got a nice set of cards, but they're all, you know, coming up into the later game, and that's only where we're just getting to now. We'll have to see what he can pull out. I mean, Baconator's got the Freya and the Hell, and he's got the Fire Giant and the Silence.
Baconator's got a lot of utensils, and like I said, historically this matchup's been good for Roman. But based on the games today, it really hasn't appeared that way. The one thing, obviously there's a lot of Mr. C4 is kind of running a unique deck, I would definitely say. So this experimental deck may not be like the best representation of Roman, but it's definitely still a pretty hot matchup. C4 is still trying to stay in this game. Obviously, pretty much unfortunately for C4, you know, that Runestone of Ire came out so early, and I think it's a GG.
I think the damage has been done.
See,
you know, I mean, he's pushing really hard now. I can't see what he's going to pull round to turn this game around.
Shackle the Harpy and the Blade Master. Then you have to blink the Harpy away. Smack the no. There's nothing he can do. This is certainly a very rough end for Mr. C4 here, especially
we've still got another Fire Giant. We've got the Fire Giant as well to come out from Baconator, you know, and I mean this is this is it, I think.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, technically, I think he can live a turn. Yes. Yeah, he'll be able to live a turn, but we know the fates. There's nothing that Mr. C4 really has in his deck that can deal with a 4/7, a 2/4 at the same time. Like maybe Dishonorable would have been good, but at this point you have to question, is it even possible to win still? Because then the Freya is just going to add even more insult to injury. So I want to actually point out, so this is a bit of an interesting play, you know, because we see different players, earlier we're actually holding the Freya for a very specific moment, whereas Baconator's just throwing her out. Do you think he needs to have used the Freya there, or could he have just gone like Thor?
I think that was probably a good move, to be honest. Dealt with, you know, both of those terrors. I mean, he could have gone with the Thor. I don't know whether it would have played out as better. I think this is probably going to give him a bit more of a chance to finish this.
See, I was about to say, it seems as though via Blade Master he may be able to live a turn, but we also know that his hand is huge. His hand is beefy. It's disgusting. He's got Fire Giant, Thor, Hell, Soul. You name a card that you want, Baconator's got it. He's really got. I think he's gonna hold the reins to this game because remember, he cannot. Best he can do is blink back Blade Master, but Blade Master will still be able to make contact with the Summoning Stone. I think this is GG.
And he's blinked
via Thor, Fire Giant, you name it, Baconator's got it. Well, this is a very abrupt end to the set here. How did this happen?
I mean, that was just such a push from Baconator there, you know. I mean, he played the right cards at the right time, and I mean, I just don't know. I mean, I think that I'd like to say I think C4 could have probably played a bit differently, maybe prolonged it a bit. I don't know whether the outcome would have been different or what really, but it was over a lot quicker than I expected.
And that is the way the Odin aggro works. It either works or it really doesn't. And in this case, just the Runestone of Ire was perfectly enough for Baconator to pull off the win.
Yeah.
Well, congrats to Baconator, who'll be moving on to the finals. Fable, Mr. C4, Flashpoint, Baconator, they both played so well. Moving on to the finals here, guys. Stay tuned for it. It's going to be a good one. Ladies and gents, it is that time. Finally, we have approached the finals. On my left, I have Arlo on the Quash, and on my right, I have Flashpoint Baconator playing the Nuwa. Is your host a Comcast employee? Alongside me is Jake in the slow zone. Jake, what can we expect from this matchup?
I'm sorry, I'm just getting too excited. You know, I mean, seeing Arlo's plays through it's been really interesting to watch. You know, I mean, he really has done, you know, and it seems like his confidence has grown with every game that he's played. You know, I mean, we've probably seen some of the most aggro-y decks coming out from him in the plays. And I mean, I think he's had the quickest set of the tournament. I mean, I think the last set that we commentated on of his, I think the games must have been over in under sort of 5-10 minutes.
Definitely. I mean, obviously aggressive tactics are always interesting to watch, especially in a game like Tactics, because they can work, but there's not a lot of cards that innately scream use this card aggressively, and so it comes down a lot to the to the player's idea and understanding of what they exactly want to achieve. Arlo's Cabrakan going to get shut down by a Chaos Spawn. But, you know, Cabrakan being Cabrakan, he's still 2-7. He is still one thick green man, ready to smack some summoning stones. We are going to see him have a couple of plays here. A potential X-Ball. No, he's going to actually silence the Chang'e, which is... what do you think of that play? Because, we were talking before about how Chang'e is a very good unit, but sometimes I have a hard time valuing, right? Valuing silencing a 1/4 that's not gonna win games directly.
I think with the way that he's been playing so far, especially a very zombie-based deck, I think that's probably a good move for him. You know, I mean, he's got the blight. He doesn't want to take any chances of having zombies taken down by present blades when it's not necessary. And, you know, I mean, if he gets to raise the grave, he could really pull this off quickly again.
Pull it off quickly he may, but it is also worth mentioning Baconator has the Guan Yu and the Ao Kuang. He's honestly got a dream hand. He's got a couple of spells. He's got enough damage to definitely look towards almost a lethal, right? Like Sun Wukong's unexpected because via that whether it's Eagles or Tiger, really, it's just so much damage pumping out for a six drop, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I'm quite interested to see how he plays this now because he seems to, you know, he hasn't got the best cards to sort of set up his rush as he has had in the previous games, you know, and I think Baconator is just going to shut him down as quick as he can. You know, I think he's going to be expecting the rush.
And I mean, obviously, pointing out the Chonga showed a lot of respect of almost Baconator towards Arlo. Because if you didn't think you would need that forward, you wouldn't do it. What do you think of this play? Like, it's like I don't even have words to this play because it's a very different type of Blight than we're used to seeing.
I don't know. I mean, he's not going to be following it up with the Raise. Maybe with the Kamazo, but I mean, even then, it feels a bit early to me. You know, I don't know. It's not a play that I would have expected to happen.
I think
he has got the Raise the Grave now.
I was actually about to say it seemed as though Arlo was baiting out the elimination for the Raise the Graves. But who needs to bait the elimination for the Raise the Graves when you already have a Raise the Graves? Like, there's a couple of options obviously for what Arlo wants to do here, but I definitely believe that he sees the same exact thing we do: a prime Raise the Graves board.
I mean, this is exactly how he took the last game that we casted with him playing the same deck, you know, and it worked so well for him. So, you know, why change it?
This is gonna be a very, very difficult game for Baconator to take back, surely for the fact that it is just so incredibly rough to try to deal with all these 4/4s. Like, sure, you can Hobwa. I think honestly his only play is to Hobwa the middle back zombie. Sun Wukong. Oh crap! Wait, he only has 7 mana. What am I doing? He can't even activate half his plays. So he's gonna attempt to live this. However, Arlo's gonna kind of rebuttal with the Camazotz. Wait, that's 12 damage. He's like so close to lethal. I think he can taste it.
Yeah. I mean, he can still. Yeah, I mean, this is it, I think.
That's lethal. Oh my gosh.
This is it.
Quick game coming out from Arlo. Starting
there we see it again. I mean, he just absolutely, you know, came that with the rush again, you know, and it worked so well for him, and it was just such a fast-paced game. I don't think that, you know, Baconator had any way to respond to it.
What's most interesting to me is that it wasn't the cards that were aggressive. Like, Blight is a perfectly fine control card, but he played it aggressively. He said, you know what, I'm going to bank on some RNG. Now, shortly after he blighted, he top-decked to Raise the Graves. Again, it's kind of hard whether you should attribute this to like, that was his mindset, that was skill coming into play, because that top deck certainly won him the game. However, I would say, I don't think really we've ever seen that type of aggressive with regular cards type of deck. Like, we've seen plenty of aggressive decks that have cards like Suitor, like maybe like even like Token Odin or Zombie Apwash, or like I guess Suicide Zombie Apwash. But we haven't seen this type of regular card played aggressively type of deck. Well, as I was saying, Arlo taking a very quick, very clean Game 1 off of Flashpoint Baconator. Stay tuned for the second game in the final. Will Baconator be able to bring it back? Welcome back. This is game 2 of the finals. Starting off aggressively with the coined out Hou-Yi. I'm your host, Comcast Employee. Alongside me is Jake in the slow zone. We got Flashpoint Baconator on the Nuwa versus Arlo on the Raw. Now, if we learned anything from last game, we know that Arlo likes smorking. He likes playing aggressive. He knows what he wants. What do you expect that we can expect from this game?
I don't know. I mean, this is the first time I think I've seen him playing the Egyptian, Pantheon, and I don't know. I don't know if he's going to take it quite so aggressively. We'll have to see. But I don't know. I think if he doesn't, then Baconator might just take him out on this.
I want to point out almost the ingeniousness of that play. What Arlo was doing is say, yeah, go ahead, kill my Bastet, but my cats will kill you. So either A, Baconator was going to sacrifice an entire turn, spending 2 mana to get rid of one cat so his Hou-Yi would live, or B, he would have to retreat. That's exactly what happened. So whether that was intentional or not, that still turned out very, very well for Arlo, especially playing the Bronze. Now, Bronze had a long history. He's been in the game for a very, very, very long time. And for the longest amount of time, he always had the passive of 3/3 and gained +0/1, whenever a god spawns. But recently, he got these changes to make him a very hefty Bronze, where he gets +1/1. What do you think of this drastic change, Jake?
I think I think this card's going to play because of it. Especially in a god-heavy deck. I mean, it can really become a dangerous card quite quickly. Especially when you're pulling the gods out.
I think what's most interesting is how Baconator played his Zhong Kui. It's almost like Baconator already knows that there's going to be an aggressive bias to this Egyptian deck.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
he's playing Zhong Kui
there.
up, which is generally one of the biggest no-nos like a person can possibly do. Because, you want Zhong Kui to live, but Baconator's saying, bunk that. I want to try to survive and or win very quickly.
I think it's a good move, to be fair. I mean, I think playing it there, he's blocked off the points of his Summoning Stone. I'd expect him to move him to the back line in this turn, because there's been no advance. But I guess we'll see what he decides. Maybe he's got a different plan.
So, I will say, Annihilation in Arlo's hand will actually completely decimate the board. And this is actually a pretty good board to annihilate. However, it is also worth mentioning that it's a very valuable resource against the Chinese Pantheon when you have a lot of these very destructive units eventually coming. So if you're Baconator, what's the play here? Do you go for the Ao Kuang? Do you go for the maybe even off-curve Chang'e?
I think the Chang'e would be a good play here. Playing the Chang'e on the back line and just building up that spell, I mean, he can use this to then pick off units, and especially if Bastet comes out into cats, I mean, he's got something to very easily deal with that.
Well, fairly interesting turn of events. Arlo now being aggressed on, but he's going to counter with the Annihilation. Absolutely decimating the board, instantly swinging it in his own favor.
I think that was a good play.
That was a beautiful
play. I think he played that at the perfect time.
Exactly. I mean, obviously, it can be a bit difficult to judge the perfect time sometimes, right? Because you don't know what the future holds, and you don't know. But the only thing you do know is that your opponent's got a lot of big booty minions, as I call them, ready in store. Picking up the Chang'e here, a very off-curve turn. That's dangerous. When you're playing off-curve against such a strong opponent, right, you have to expect that it's going to get bad unless you can find a way to resolve that curve. And unfortunately, Baconator really wasn't able to. He played a Chang'e, which is innately kind of worthless, right?
I mean, I would expect Baconator to get punished for that.
Yeah, and that's actually where I was leading to. And it looks like he's exactly going to do that. He could go for the Sobek Khepri here, and this is going to wreak havoc.
Man,
A 5/7 Sobek, a 6/5 Bronze. How did the game swing this much?
I mean, he just pulled that out of nowhere. I mean, that Annihilation turning point. I mean, pulling that, giving him a fresh board to come back with. And you know, I mean, I think this is what we spoke about. You know, I mean, he is punishing Baconator for playing how he played in that turn.
I think you're definitely on to something here. I mean, this is like that's lethal.
I mean, looking at
pretty much lethal.
Looking at Baconator's hand as well. I mean, he hasn't really got anything that he's going to be able to effectively counter this with. I mean, he could execute one of them. He could, or he could pull out the Blade Master, Anubis maybe. But I don't know.
We are going to see the Dragon King himself come out and try to deal with this board just a bit. He will end up killing the Sobek, the 5/7 Sobek, but I mean, obviously Arlo's saying it doesn't matter at this point because he's got 6, 7, 8 damage on the field, plus an additional. He's like, I think he's just hitting lethal. He's really close to lethal because he's got Fire Giants and he's also got Blade Masters. The only thing Baconator will be able to really counter with is his own Blade Master, but I think Arlo's looking towards the Goobus right now. That could be very possible, I think. Honestly, this is where it's like Arlo has so many good plays. It's the question is what's the best play?
Yeah, I mean,
Fire Giants,
and he's going with a Fire Giant, and I think that's a good choice. I mean, it's not quite lethal, but he's pretty much got it there.
Pretty much got it is an understatement when you have this entire board on with 1 health. Arlo, like, I haven't seen this player really often at all, and all of a sudden, this man is smorking, but doing it in a very intelligent manner. Now, I will say, I think Baconator overextended a lot. He was setting up for the annihilation, and he got annihilated. He literally got annihilated, and I maybe his it almost seems like some more sort of combo Chinese deck. It didn't really pan out, because like the 6/5 bronze is a way to deal with it.
Yeah,
I mean his only out here would be some sort of amazing, baffling Guan Yu spin to win marathon, which I don't think is possible.
I think he took a risk really, and he was punished for it, and I think Arlo's played very well to actually make the most of that and really punish it.
On that note, it seems as though Baconator is going to actually lose the game, and we're going to see. Such a close. Such a close. Yes, Arlo is going to take the finals by storm.
What a way to end.
The Flashpoint Baconator playing exceptionally well, but not able to stave off the complete aggressive nature of Arlo. That was unexpected, but definitely amazing. So that concludes the tournament. Congrats to Arlo, who is the champion of this tourney. Be sure to tune in next week for some more Hand of the Gods action, and keep playing, guys.
Awesome, yeah, that's it. I mean, maybe we should keep our eyes open on Arlo over the next, the course of the full circuit.
I think you have a definite point there.